Welcome back to Rewind with bschwitty, because you don't drink Dom Perignon 53 above the room. Welcome back to Rewind with bschwitty, because you don't drink Dom Perignon 53 above the temperature of 38 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, we're going to have another varietal focus. It's Monday. It's time to learn. We're going to be focusing on white wine today because, well, why not? It's hot out all across the country. There's like monsoons, and it's never been a better time to kick back with some Chardonnay. So that's what we're going to look over today. A little bit of Chard. And over here, I have a classic California Chardonnay, moderate or smaller, lower price point. This is Crema. You probably recognize it. It's probably in every single Costco everywhere. This is from the Sonoma Coast AVA. It's a classic California Chardonnay. Oaky, buttery, all that round goodness. And you'll want a wider, rounder Chardonnay glass like this for your oakier, more mallow intensive Chardonnays. I also have a Burgundy. White Burgundy is generally Chardonnay, so I thought we'd go with the 2015 Burgundy that I got off of last bottle. So, what do we know about Chard? Well, it's the world's most planted white grape, with 491,000 acres planted worldwide. The flavors that you'll find in Chardonnay are, in warmer climates like California, Spain, and southern Australia, you'll find yellow apple and pineapple. And it's one of the dominant characteristics of Chardonnay is that apple. That's what I was taught to look for when I was studying to be a somm. And that is just the key descriptor for a Chard. Green to yellow apple. In cooler climates like Burgundy, New Zealand, and Oregon, or Oregon, as most people in the Pacific Northwest say, you'll find hints of starfruit and other fruit on that spectrum. I'm actually excited to try this. I haven't tried it yet. So the common styles, there's the rich and oaky style like I was talking about. And that would be a classic California style Chardonnay. Oaky, buttery, and that's due to malolactic fermentation, which is a process where malic acid is converted to lactic acid. If you think of lactose, that root word there is the same root word in lactic. So that's what you get. Ooh. And you'll also find similar characteristics in the Burgundy region of Côte de Beaune. Pardon me for butchering French again. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you'll find unoaked Chardonnays, stainless steel, sometimes cement. And then you'll find that in the other parts of Burgundy, like Mâconnais and Chablis, as well as Western Australia. And it should be noted that Blanc de Blanc, the sparkling champagne or sparkling wine or champagne, is made from Chardonnay grapes. But we'll talk about sparklings and champagne at a later date. Now, this cooler climate Burgundy Oh wow. The acid is a little bit brighter than Sonoma. It doesn't have as much oak as the California Chard. I think it's great. And what we should note is that when pairing Chardonnay, it's easy to lose Chardonnay in the food. So you're going to want to pair it with things like shellfish. It actually, I'll open a bottle, I'll pour a little bit in if I'm cooking something like clams. Just note that butteriness, that like a Napa Chard will go really well with lobster and butter, anything crab and butter, anything in butter, and also like an herbed chicken. That's probably as heavy as you want to go with the meat. You want to avoid things like sharp cheeses and spicy dishes, as well as red meats with Chardonnay. Just think that buttery goodness and cheeses, soft cheeses, that will play off of the Chardonnay that you're drinking. And finally, Chardonnay, it hit its peak popularity around the late 80s, early to mid 90s, and then it started to taper out. But by that time, it was the widest planted white variety in the world. Some would say overplanted, which means the market was flooded with really cheap Chard, and eventually that got in the public's mind that the quality of Chardonnay is low. So Chardonnay has kind of been relegated to this area where people don't appreciate it anymore because they loved it so much that they loved it into mediocrity. And now that we've moved past that point, Chardonnay is kind of coming back into the forefront. People are doing fun things with it, like I mentioned earlier, using cement, using ceramic to ferment. It's really interesting just to see all the different ways that you can play with Chardonnay. And that's one of the great things about the grape, is that it's so versatile. It shows so many different characteristics depending on where it's grown, how it's grown, and then how it's fermented and how it's treated in the aging process. We should talk about a few smaller things. Malolactic fermentation. This is one of the white wines that you'll want to use malolactic fermentation on. I may have touched on it earlier. It's a conversion of malic acid to lactic acid, which will leave your wine just a little bit rounder, a little bit fuller, and that's what causes the California Chards to have that big buttery goodness to it. Also, you may have heard the term over oaked when referring to some California Chards. That could be true. Napa Chardonnays, Sonoma Chardonnays, people go for broke on that oak program. But if you play with the oak, balance it out, I think that it gives it a great extra backbone to the wine. Whereas if you use stainless steel to ferment it and age, you're going to lose characteristics that really play off of Chardonnay well. But then again, if you go the stainless steel route, you'll have just varietal, like just straight up Chardonnay, and you'll be able to understand what it is as a single grape. Well, that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions about Chardonnay, leave them in the comments below. Please comment, like, subscribe, share, etc., etc. I'd really appreciate a share if you subscribed, or subscribed if you found this through a share. I just want to keep talking about wine and having fun editing and producing this show, Rewine. So from me to you, enjoy some Chardonnay, get out there and take this knowledge that you've learned and drop it on some unsuspecting tasting room folk. We'll see you later this week on Wednesday for Wine Down Wednesday. With that, I'm bschwitty. I'll catch you next time.